The act of flying may appear to be irregular in today's world. After settling into your seat, you proceed to scan your boarding card, then proceed to shuffle along the jet bridge. During the moment that the engines begin to growl to life, you might be scrolling through your phone or looking out the window. It is all quite familiar to me, predictable in nature. On the other hand, here is the reality. There is a sky full of mysteries that lurks behind every clean takeoff. Silent choices are made, systems that are concealed. There are safety tactics going on all around you, and you are not even aware of doing them. They will remain unknown to the vast majority of passengers. Perhaps some of them are unsettling. The lives of others could very well be saved. Today, we are going to start opening that secret door. Now is the time for you to find out what actually takes place while you are at an altitude of 30,000 feet. What causes the lights to go out, and what it actually affects. Imagine this. The aeroplane is either about to take off from the runway or is making its way down towards the ground. The lights in the cabin suddenly become less bright. It is tranquil, gentle. Isn't it unimportant? It's not true. That very instant could very well be one of the most significant safety indicators that the entire trip has to provide. Your eyes will be trained by the dim lighting. In the event that an emergency occurs while you are taking off or landing, you might only have a few seconds to respond. Additionally, your night vision needs to be operational in the event that you are abruptly thrown into darkness, whether it is outside the aircraft or within a cabin that is filled with smoke. The mood is irrelevant here. That has nothing to do with ease. To survive is the goal here. Dimming the lights sends a message that is not audible. Be prepared. However, the vast majority of individuals never notice. It's not a mistake that aeroplanes take off with broken parts inside of them. What follows is something that may come as a surprise to you, or even cause you to feel anxious at first. Aeroplanes frequently take off with broken parts, not just occasionally, but on a consistent basis. However, you shouldn't freak out. It is not carelessness to do this. It is engineering that has been meticulously calculated. There is a stringent checklist that is followed by every commercial aircraft, and it is called the Minimum Equipment List, or MEL. On this list, the systems that must be operational in order for an aeroplane to be judged safe to fly are outlined. Even in the event that something breaks, such as a seat light, a coffee maker, or even the entertainment system, the aircraft is still able to take off without restriction. How come? Because the safety of the flight is not affected by such factors. The vital systems, which include the engines, hydraulics, navigation, and brakes, are the ones that matter. These are subjected to a thorough examination, testing, and strict monitoring. Even while there is a possibility that something insignificant is malfunctioning at your seat. The systems that are responsible for keeping that airplane in the air are operating under constant observation. The crew does not consider a broken tray table to be an urgent situation. It is not a problem at all. Their training allows them to manage a great deal more, and they do so in a stealthy manner, so passengers are never aware of it. The ballet that is not visible, that secures your safety. There is a little-known dance that is taking place all around you while you are doing things like watching a movie or drinking juice. Operators are keeping an eye on intricate systems. Flight attendants are doing a risk assessment in the background. Additionally, the aircraft itself is in constant communication with the ground for the entirety of the adventure. What is the truth? Flying is not at all a routine activity. This is out of this world. That it is so smooth is due to the fact that hundreds of motions that are not visible to the naked eye are maintaining that smoothness. The lights starting to darken. Checklists that are kept a secret. The unspoken collaboration of the team. This is not merely a peculiarity of the experience, rather, it is a component of a much wider strategy that is intended to safeguard you. You would never be aware that there are bunk beds hidden above you, but they are there. In the middle of a flight, have you ever looked up and wondered what was over your head? If you are flying on a Boeing 777 or 787, the answer may come as a surprise to you. There is a bunk bed that is concealed, and it is possible that someone is now sleeping in it. You have it right. It is also necessary for flight attendants and pilots on long-haul international flights to get some rest, but you will never know where they go. These crew quarters are skillfully concealed, either above the ceiling or below the floor, and the only way to access them is by a series of disguised doorways or ladders that are concealed beneath the surface of the ground. Therefore, when you are dozing soundly in seat 38B, there is a possibility that someone is sleeping gently just a few feet above you. This is a world that you will never see unless you work there. Wearing an oxygen mask will only buy you 15 minutes, and that is all the time you require. Those yellow oxygen masks that were falling from the ceiling during the safety demonstration are something that you have witnessed 100 times. The question is, what do they not say out loud? They are only effective for a period of 12 to 15 minutes. Do you agree that it is terrifying? On the other hand, here's the catch. It is precisely the length of time that is required. They are instructed to dive the plane to safer altitudes as quickly as possible in the event that the cabin suddenly loses its pressure within the aircraft. Lower than 10,000 feet, oxygen is once again breathable, and a mask is not required. Is that a descent? In most cases, less than 5 minutes. What is the true risk? Put off putting on the mask for a while. There is a rapid onset of hypoxia. If it does occur, you shouldn't freak out. Refrain from checking your phone. Simply take a deep breath and grab the mask. To maintain your awareness, you should perform that move. It is possible that the coffee served on aeroplanes is brewed with soapy water. Perhaps the warm cup of coffee that they serve you in the middle of the flight will feel reassuring. To tell you the truth, however, it is possible that it is created from water tanks that are contaminated with bacteria. Onboard water tanks, which are rarely cleaned adequately, are frequently the source of beverages such as tea, coffee, and even ice that are served on aeroplanes. Bacteria, including E. coli, have been found to be present in those tanks, according to a number of investigations and audits conducted by airlines. Within the crew, it is not a secret. There are a lot of flight attendants who are not willing to drink the water from the faucet, even for tea. If you are offered a warm beverage in the future, you should decline it, and instead grab a water bottle that has been sealed. Once you are back on solid ground, your stomach will be sure to express its gratitude. It's possible that your pilot is sleeping well, and that's a good thing. A fact that the vast majority of passengers are completely unaware of is that pilots are permitted to sleep during flights. It is not only allowed, but it is also encouraged on routes that are somewhat lengthy. This is referred to as controlled rest. Long-haul flights, particularly those that cross oceans or time zones, need pilots to swap shifts. As one pilot takes a nap, the second pilot keeps an eye on the systems, and sure, the autopilot is responsible for the majority of the laborious tasks. Specifically for this reason, some flights even feature a third pilot who serves as a relief pilot, because being alert is not a choice when you are flying for more than 12 hours. Rather, it is an absolute need. In other words, if your captain is sleeping someplace behind the cockpit door, that is not considered negligent behavior. As a result, the system is performing just what it was intended to do, which is to ensure your safety. The purpose of the airplane mode is not to crash. Rather, it is to improve clarity. To tell you the truth, how many times have you pretended to switch to airplane mode on your phone, but in reality, you didn't? Do you agree that it seems harmless? In all honesty, your phone will not cause the plane to crash. However, this can result in interference, not with the engines themselves, but with something that is even more important, the communication between the pilots. Imagine that during takeoff or landing, dozens or perhaps hundreds of phones are all looking for a signal to communicate with one another. Additionally, the pilot's communication system may experience radio static as a result of this turbulence. If they are coordinating with the tower, this is hardly the ideal situation. Therefore, airplane mode is not about risk. Rather, it is about clarity in situations where it is most important. When it comes to aviation, having clear communication can save lives. The loo is not as private as you may believe it to be. Think that the only location on a flight where you can be alone yourself is in the lavatory of an airplane? Don't be too sure. When it comes to the restrooms on a plane, it is possible to unlock them from the outside, and yes, it is surprisingly simple. A small latch can be found concealed under the sign that reads "Lavatory" on the door. When you flip it, the door unlocks without the need for a key, thus there is no drama involved. When an emergency occurs, such as when someone passes out, locks the door, or stays in there for an excessive amount of time, the crew needs to have quick access to the area. It's not just a smile between them, they're actually observing you. When you board a plane, you are not only greeted but also observed. This is something that happens immediately. In a matter of seconds, flight attendants are taught to scan each individual passenger. They are searching for anything that might be abnormal, such as symptoms of intoxication, unusual behavior, illness, or evidence of mental distress. Additionally, they are mentally noting who appears to be strong, calm, or capable, potentially helpful individuals in the event of an emergency. What about that fleeting glance? It's not an act of rudeness. This is a method for survival. There are seats that might just save your life. Consider yourself to be in the front row? Don't be too sure. A number of research on accidents have shown that passengers who are situated in the back of the aircraft had a marginally higher chance of surviving the crash. How come? In a number of actual collisions, the rear section was more intact than the rest of the vehicle. If you are playing the odds, the back might be your best chance. However, there is no assurance that this will be the case. And on the aisle seats? During turbulent conditions, they are more prone to be struck by carts, limbs, and pandemonium, despite the fact that they are convenient. That which you believe to be safe is not necessarily the case. The answer is yes. Lightning strikes on airplanes occur frequently. Lightning strikes airplanes on a regular basis, in spite of the fact that it sounds like something out of a catastrophe movie. Approximately once a year, each and every commercial airplane is struck by an object. However, you shouldn't freak out. Conductive materials are used in the construction of modern airplanes. These materials allow the electric current to be safely redirected around the fuselage, so protecting you from any harm. It is possible that you will see a flash or hear a rumble in the distance, but the majority of passengers will not even notice. Even though the sky may be breaking apart, the airplane continues to fly. You are going to be breathing air that has been used in the past. Perhaps you believe that the air you are inhaling is pure and fresh. On the contrary, in airline cabins, a mixture of fresh air from the outside and recycled air from the interior is circulated. However, there is a silver lining. HEPA filters are currently in operation, and they are cleaning the air with an efficiency of 99.97%. This is the same level that is adopted in hospitals. Nevertheless, because there are dozens of strangers jammed into a metal tube, it is prudent to bring a mask or disinfectant wipes, particularly during the holiday season when the flu is prevalent. The reason for this is that your seat was not cleaned for you, regardless of how clean the air is. Does that table have a tray? Even more filthy than the toilet. It is not the lavatory that is the most filthy surface on the aeroplane. It is the toilet table. The tray table is subjected to everything, including food that has been spilt, sweaty elbows, and baby nappies, but it is hardly ever, if ever, cleaned in between flights. In investigations, it was discovered that tray tables contained a greater number of bacteria than the lavatory. So, if you are about to put a sandwich on one, what should you do? Remove it with a mop. Alternatively, you are essentially eating from a petri dish. Flights that are overbooked are not an accident. Have you ever been informed that the plane is full, despite the fact that you booked hours ago? That is not a coincidence, rather it is a strategy. Flights are intentionally overbooked by airlines, with the expectation that some passengers will not show up. When all of the people finally show up, it is at this point that they begin to distribute vouchers, reroute passengers, and cause pandemonium. A high-stakes numbers game is being played here, one that is profitable for airlines but detrimental to passengers. What happens if someone passes away while in flight? Unsettling as that may be, the reality is that it does occur. If a passenger passes away while in the air, the crew will respond in a calm and methodical manner. In many cases, they will shift the body to a vacant row and cover it with a blanket in a completely covert manner. There is no fanfare, not a single warning. Respect is all that is required. Even while certain long-haul aircraft are equipped with body bags or corpse kits, there is no mortuary in the skies alone. A significant number of instances include the body remaining seated until the plane lands down. Are you uneasy? Indeed. On the other hand, this is a fact that airlines almost never talk about.